I'm waiting patiently. Good pull, YouTube. Yep. Oh. Oh, I can see too in my stream. Hi. Oh my gosh, hello. Yay. Okay, yeah, I knew I was in trouble when my stream preview was also not working because I live in my computer. If I can't see it, certainly nobody else can see it. I did test audio levels beforehand, but let me know if they suck because everybody's audio is different. I use my headphones, you're using your headphones. Or you're not using headphones. And I did not account for that. It's going. It looks good to me. I haven't dropped any more frames. I dropped 2 frames right at the start. Seems better. Is this a bacteria? It can be. Hello. Okay, everybody can see. Yay! I was saying before YouTube decided that I was allowed to stream that I tried to schedule this at a time when historically girls have been very calm, but right now they're having a parade behind me. So that was my bad. But we're gonna go for it. Yay! Okay. That's my analytics. Wrong tab. There we go. Welcome! Welcome to my classroom. It's a real classroom. And it's not a section of my dining room where I set up a PowerPoint. There will be a test. There's going to be several tests and quizzes. Oh my god, someone is digging in the litter box behind me. This is so perfect. This is really the experience here. We're getting 3D elves. Oh god, I'm glad you didn't miss the whole thing. Yay, classroom time. Okay, well, I'm gonna start by introducing myself because I've been streaming for like 6 months and I never introduced more digging. I never introduced myself. So here's some basics about me. My name is Elf Lion. You can make a nickname for me if you'd like. My species is Elf Lion, and if you're wondering what an Elf Lion is, it is exactly what it sounds like. Don't overthink it. My gender is elf, no lion. Elves don't have genders, so you can use any pronouns you like for me. Just look into your heart, and whatever you pick will be correct. My birthday is the 31st of July, which makes me a Leo. I am 39 years old, which I know it sounds old, but an elf lifespan is like 400 years. So I'm only 10% of the way through my natural lifespan. And when humans are 10% of the way through their natural lifespans, they're like 8. So basically, I'm a 3rd grader, is what I'm saying. I am 167 centimeters tall, which is freakishly tall for an elf. Elves don't get this tall. And my occupation is Elf Lion. I am the world's first and only professional Elf Lion. So if you need an Elf Lion for your... Jesus! If you need an Elf Lion for your bar mitzvah or your petting zoo, hit me up. I'm your guy. But do it fast, because there's only one of me. Here's a quick list of stuff that makes me happy. I like nature and making excuses to be in nature. I like making things. I like learning, you know, typical elf stuff. And here's a smaller list of things that make me unhappy. I don't like when people ask bad faith questions. I don't like when people talk over each other. I don't like yelling. And I hate the grocery store. It is a hostile environment designed specifically to make me upset. But let's not focus on the negative stuff. Here's a lightning round of elf favorites. My favorite animals are cats and horses. And of course, God's most perfect creature, the snail. My favorite color is all of them. My favorite food is human food. I like all the human foods that there are, but I am very partial to spicy food. In terms of music, I like music that's good. I don't have a strong genre preference, but it does need to be good. Here are some of my favorite artists, along with the Wikipedia genre classification that I most agree with. We got Mother Falcon, Cosmo Sheldrake, Thank You Scientist, Hazel Boy, and my favorite band of all time, which is currently redacted. For now, there is a reason that it's redacted, and I will declassify this information at a later date, and I will explain why it's redacted at that time, but for now, think of it as a fun mystery. These are some of my favorite games. I like story-driven single-player games, third-person shooters, and games that let me design or build or arrange or organize or decorate. And I think that's reflected in my selection here. There's also a wild card that fits none of those criteria, but is nonetheless my favorite game, Outer Wilds. And I want to say why I'm streaming. why do I want to work at YouTube? Why do I want to stream? It's because I'm really bad at talking, and I would like to get better at talking. I think practice makes perfect. So if I sit here and talk into my microphone for hours, I will improve and get better at talking. I would also like to exercise my teaching muscles, which I'm going to do in like 30 seconds. I want to do a microscopy stream one day. I think that would be like so fun, but it's kind of a stretch goal. I need to resolve my funding issues first. Same with the hand cams. I want to do lots of hand cams, but my setup is janky, so I have to fix it, which means I need money. I haven't played that many video games, so I'd like to play some video games. And most importantly, I want to learn about streaming, about OBS, about anything, about you guys. I want to learn. And also because it's fun. So far it's been fun. Oh. About as much fun as Guineas is having right behind me. It's just some grit. Oh, you know what? That's a great point, Anime. I also like bad music. Music that is good at least one axis. I need an axis of goodness on the music to enjoy it. You know, it can be bad technically, but it's gotta be good in some direction. And I think that's... Oh wait, actually I have credits. Me! I made everything except for the background music, which was made by Yuhei Komatsu. Thank you, Dova Syndrome. You might not even be able to hear it because it's very low. It's low in the mix. So, you know what? Congratulations. You all passed. You passed the class. You are now an elf expert. That's everything that there is to know about me. That's all the facts. There's nothing else. So, good work. I'm pretty boring. I don't have a lot of dimensions to me, but you know what's not boring is vaccine design and E. coli. Yippee! You got your elf degrees. I'm so proud of you. What a stellar class. So yeah, let's leave the boring stuff behind and let's talk about vaccine design and E. coli. Let me explain how I want this to work. So you shouldn't need any specific science knowledge to understand any of this, because I'm going to lean very heavily on analogies. Actually, just one analogy. the entire time. And generalizations, I'm going to lean on those so that we can learn basic principles of vaccine design. In fact, this might be really boring if you have a specific science knowledge, so sorry. If I use a science word, I'm going to try to define it so that everyone can know what I'm talking about. But if I use a science word that I have forgotten is a science word, please let me know. I will try to fix my lack of definition. And then we have some disclaimers. Got some important disclaimers. First of all, this is all simplified. There is way more here than I could reasonably cover within this topic. There's nuance and complexity that I'm not going to delve into. Please do some further reading for yourself if you're interested. I'm going to provide sources and reading lists at the end or in the description. I didn't put them in there yet, but they'll be there. Yeah. Beef sounds tasty. Well, are we going to talk about raw beef? I don't think we're going to talk about raw beef. Not even one mention of raw beef. That might be an oversight on my part. I'll see if I can incorporate it. Okay, so before we discuss E. coli specifically, I need to make sure we're all on the same page with regards to what vaccines are and how they work. So we're going to do some super basic, very simplified vaccine talk. So what is a vaccine? We're going to talk about it in terms of what it does, its function, not necessarily its components. So a vaccine is a substance that causes your immune system to undergo a training exercise. If we want to use an analogy, which I do, as established, a vaccine is kind of like a distribution system for wanted posters that say, hey, keep your eye out for this guy. If you see him, grab him. So imagine in your mind a wanted poster, or you can just look at the slide. What do you think is the most important part? I'm gonna make a poll. Most important part of the wanted poster. Is it the paper? Is it the picture? Is it the reward? Or is it the vanilla extract? I'm grading you on this. Oh, I love how that breaks my chat. That's so good. Oh, it's the reward, yeah. Oh my god, whoa! Okay, we've got a very even split of answers here. Wait, how is it 34%? Some bacteria snuck into the stream and left its teeny tiny little fraction of a vote in my poll. We have E. coli subterfuge at play right now. He's here, he's with us, and he's sabotaging the lesson. Unbelievable. I can't believe it. Actually, I should be honored. E. coli, I'm your biggest fan. Can I have an autograph? Well, a wanted poster, despite what E. coli says, a wanted poster needs to have a picture or some kind of description of the guy you want on it, so someone can recognize him if he crosses their path. And I think in this analogy, this is a good way to think of an antigen. We can think of this picture as an antigen. I'm going to use that word a lot, so I want to make sure to explain it thoroughly so everyone understands what it means. An antigen is some kind of identifying marker that your immune system can use to decide if something belongs in your body or not. So an antigen is some kind of molecular feature. Like imagine a virus with a bow on it that you can use to identify the fact that it's a virus. In the context of vaccines, an antigen is the part of the vaccine that actually teaches your immune system how to recognize a threat. So your little immune cell can be like, oh, I know that bow. I've seen that bow. I hate that bow. We gotta get rid of that thing. Get out of here. In a broader context though, like outside of vaccines, An antigen is anything that can bind to a specific antibody. And an antibody, if you're not aware, is a little protein that is made and wielded by your immune system to recognize a specific antigen. They attach to antigens and they serve as a little flag for immune cells. And they say, hello, pay attention to me. I don't think this should be in here. Someone come collect this. It's lost. It does not belong in this body. Thanks. You will notice that these definitions are circular, and if you consider them together, they are self-referential, and it's just one of those things that you have to accept. Just as darkness cannot exist without light, antibodies cannot exist without antigens. So, sorry. Fashion. An antigen can be fashion. In some contexts, yes, actually. We'll talk about that more, but yeah, sometimes an antigen is fashion, and sometimes it's not. So, vaccines don't only contain antigens, obviously. They have other stuff in them as well, like stabilizers to prevent the antigen from degrading before it makes it into your arm. We're gonna return to the wanted poster metaphor right now, and we're gonna pretty much stay there for the whole rest of the 40 slides I have left. We could think of stabilizers as like a lamination on the wanted poster that prevents it from just disintegrating in the rain before everyone gets a chance to see it. Vaccines also can contain adjuvants. Not all of them do, but many. Guinea. Adjuvants are fine. It's fine. They're okay. They're safe. They've been tested. She's very upset about adjuvants. So adjuvants are little substances that draw the immune system's attention to the antigen. And in our little analogy, we could think of this as a big neon sign that points to the wanted poster. Very hard to miss with an adjuvant. But a vaccine on the whole is useless without an antigen. Your wanted poster is useless if it doesn't have a picture or a description on it. Or if the picture on it sucks. If you got a Bigfoot photo up there, not a good wanted poster. Well, the cats are also debuting, I guess. But one of them is having an issue with my topic. So, okay, we know that if we're gonna design a vaccine for E. coli, we need an antigen. How would we decide what the antigen is going to be? How do we pick a good antigen? And that is actually the answer to the question. Why don't we have a vaccine against E. coli? Well, okay, it's not the whole reason, but it's a big reason. It's a big part of the reason. Put simply, there are 5 basic criteria that have to be met for a potential vaccine antigen to be considered good. With quotes, air quotes. I'm doing air quotes. Look, we'll do it with my ears. Good. But by going over these criteria, I think we can kind of figure out why this has been such a huge challenge for us. So, humans have been trying to make an E. coli vaccine since like the 70s. It is not for a lack of trying that we don't have a good vaccine against E. coli yet. We have at least 2, actually, at present, that can be administered to chickens and cattle. They're not perfect. They don't entirely prevent infection, but they do reduce the severity, and most importantly, they reduce the shedding. So, you know, cows shed less bad E. coli when they're vaccinated this way. There's a couple human vaccine candidates that are in clinical trials right now, and we're going to talk about it later. But historically, E. coli vaccines have not been good. I'm going to attempt to explain why that is, but we have to go to Analogy Town. So everybody pack your bags and hop on this train. We're going to Analogy Town to learn why everything has been failing on the front of E. coli vaccines. So, okay. Hold on. I gotta put my Western accent on. I'm getting real worried, partner. There's a notorious outlaw been seen lurking around this town by the name of extraintestinal pathogenic E. coli. He's the leading cause of invasive bacteremia and urinary tract infections, and the second leading cause of neonatal meningitis. I gotta be real careful, or I'm gonna get stuck in this accent. I gotta make a wanted poster so everyone knows to keep one eye open while they sleep, and who, specifically, they should look out for. So imagine in your mind if I made a wanted poster for Mr. Extraintestinal Pathogenic E. coli, and there was just a description on it, and it said, human male. This is accurate, right? The guy I drew on the last slide was a human male, but it's not a very good wanted poster because there's a lot of human males in this town who are not a threat, and I don't want them being apprehended for no reason. The same is true in your body. There are lots of friendly E. coli variants, and they're a pretty significant portion of the normal intestinal flora for humans. They're in your body right now in large numbers, and they're not harming you in any way. And in fact, they're conferring a lot of benefits to you, like helping you digest food and absorb certain nutrients, and they can prevent harmful bacteria from colonizing your gut. So if we're going to design a vaccine against E. coli, we need to make sure that the resulting immune response from that immune system training only targets pathogenic strains. And I have now used that word twice, so I'm going to define it real quick. Pathogen is an organism that causes disease or can cause disease, and the suffix "ic" means that something belongs to or resembles or has traits of, like, think of the word psychotic, has traits of a psycho, or allergic, right? Has traits of an allergy reaction. So if we're calling something pathogenic, we're basically accusing it of causing disease or being able to cause disease under certain circumstances. And with this, we have our first vaccine antigen criteria. It has to be pathogen specific. We don't want townspeople of our analogy town attacking every human male they see. We have to be sufficiently specific to rule out the farmers and the bankers and the shop owners and the CPR instructors. We have to find some kind of antigen that only pathogenic strains of E. coli have. Has to be pathogen specific. Okay, so we're going back to the drawing board. I understand now that I need to find something unique about Mr. Extraintestinal Pathogenic E. coli to put on the wanted poster, so people can recognize him and only him. Luckily, I have some inside information. Mr. Extraintestinal Pathogenic E. coli only has one testicle. That's very unique and identifying. I think it sounds perfect. I'm gonna put that on my wanted poster. Who can tell me why this is not a good trait to put on a wanted poster? I don't know how to make this a poll. You're just gonna have to put it in the chat. Who can tell me why this is not a good trait for a wanted poster? oh gosh. I'll give you a second to catch up with YouTube's delay. Tell me why this is a shitty wanted poster. Oops. I wasn't supposed to swear. Oops. I can't see their balls. Oh, instructions unclear. Arrested Lance Armstrong. Well, let's assume Lance Armstrong doesn't exist. I don't let him in my town. He's banned for doping crimes. Ty is right. This is not an immediately visible trait. I can't see their pulse. I mean, maybe you could, right? But by the time you have Mr. Extraintestinal Pathogenic E. coli's pants off, and you can tell he only has one testicle, it's too late. He's already here. We could institute a no pants policy for every male that enters the town. Like, that's a possible solution here, but that's just, it's not gonna work for me. I don't want to see that. So we need an identifying trait, an antigen, that is exposed on the outside of the pathogen so that your immune system can interact with it. With a good antigen, a little bow on your head. A bad antigen, a little bow in your tummy. So if a pathogen has a unique intracellular feature, which E. coli does have some unique intracellular features, it's very cool, but it's not useful for identification by the immune system because it can't see it until it's way too late. E. coli is here, it's already died, all its guts are spilling out, and now your immune system knows? Great. That's not helpful. So we have our second criteria. Not only does the antigen need to be specific to the pathogen, but it also needs to be on the outside of the pathogen. It has to be surface exposed. So I'm going back to the drawing board again. I'm going to make sure that my wanted poster features some unique identifying trait that is immediately visible, but you know what? There's something else. Mr. Extraintestinal Pathogenic E. coli don't run alone. Oh no. He runs in a posse. There are Misters Extraintestinal Pathogenic E. coli out there. And who knows which one could wind up in our town. Now, grabbing one, better than grabbing none. But I think it'd be best if I made the wanted poster so people could identify any member of the Extraintestinal Pathogenic E. coli posse. And this is criteria number 3. A good vaccine antigen will be consistent and conserved across strains of clinical concern. Just as there are many different types of E. coli that are completely neutral and won't harm you and are already in your body doing important stuff, there's multiple different types of E. coli that are not neutral and will absolutely harm you. I think last time I checked, I think it was like 190 strains. Like 190 strains of E. coli. So it would be ideal if we could find something that all or most or many of those different types of E. coli have in common. There have been a lot of attempts in the past to make E. coli vaccines out of an external cellular component that all E. coli have, called the O antigen. I'm gonna just very quickly try and explain what that is. Again, there's so much here, and I have a lot of knowledge about the O antigen, so I'm gonna try not to take up too much time and to do this as simply as possible. If this interests you, I've got papers. I've got papers for you to read. Hopefully you remember the cell membrane from school, because I don't have time to explain that. E. coli and similar bacteria are pretty interesting in that they actually have 2 cell membranes. We have, well, I don't know how to point to this. I guess I'll just use my mouse. This little, small cell membrane, and then we have this fatty second cell membrane. They have 2. If we could zoom in on this outermost one where I've circled, we could see that this cell membrane is made up of a few different things chained together. Think of this darker part of the membrane as one thing, and then the middle part is another thing, and then this is yet another thing. They're all stuck together chemically. The thing on the very outermost portion of that outermost cell membrane is the O antigen. And the O antigens that friendly, neutral E. coli have are very different from O antigens that the enemy E. coli have. So that seems pretty much perfect, right? It's all the way on the outside of the cell. It's different when it's a bad E. coli. So why doesn't that work? Why hasn't that worked? The problem has been antigenic heterogeneity, which is another science word, but it's fine. We already know half of it. We already know antigen, and we know the suffix ic. So this is just, it's something relating to antigens, and then heterogeneity means not uniform or consisting of diverse or dissimilar elements. So if we say antigenic heterogeneity, it means that the antigens are not uniform, which is a big uh-oh for us. The O antigen is actually too diverse, even across the bad E. coli. There's too many different types of O antigen. So vaccines that are made this way with the O antigen as the primary antigen only provide protection against a very small number of strains. I'm going to talk about one later. It provides protection against 9, and that's, oh, actually, there was one that was developed later that provides protection against 10, and that's pretty much the best we've got so far. It's not very good. It's suboptimal, as I like to say. So a vaccine that confers immunity against one strain is obviously better than a vaccine that confers immunity against none strains, and a vaccine that confers immunity against a few strains would be okay, but as an industry insider, I can tell you with great confidence that you are not going to get investors or other sources of funding to research, produce, and commercialize a vaccine that is just okay. It's not going to cut it, and especially not for something like E. coli, which is very prevalent, right? The leading cause of invasive bacteremia and urinary tract infections. It's not gonna pass muster. So I need my wanted poster to feature something that is unique. It needs to be immediately visible, and it needs to be consistent across all members of the extraintestinal pathogenic E. coli posse. I can actually think of a few options that could fit this bill. But I can't decide which would be best. I'm gonna recruit you guys. You gotta help me. So this group, it comes with a uniform of sorts. All the members wear the same cowboy hat, pretty much. It's a standard cowboy hat, but it has a very unique blue satin hat band. They also style their facial hair all in the same way. It's a little parted pencil mustache. And they all carry the same weapon. It's a double action revolver with a brass trigger. So let's, for the sake of our analogy, pretend that Lance Armstrong doesn't exist. I'm starting my poll, sorry. Pretend that Lance Armstrong doesn't exist and that all of these features are entirely unique to the posse members. Which, you know what, it's actually not a huge leap, because like, who's gonna wear a mustache like that? So, okay, which of these things seems like the best thing to include on the wanted poster? Pick your favorite. Cowboy hat. Oh, look at you! I thought I wrote a trick question, but you guys are you're too smart. The reason I thought it was a trick question is because I left out a piece of information. Hi! I know, I tried to trick them, but they're too smart. They're just too smart. Genius is disappointed. I knew you'd be too smart. You chose weapon because it's cool. Right, so the information I left out is that the people of this town are very literal. To a fault, arguably. If I put a hat on the wanted poster, the townspeople will prioritize that hat. Like, they're gonna grab the hat and detain it, which is fine, because there's a pretty good chance that they're also gonna grab the rest of the guy in the process of detaining the hat. But wouldn't it be better if they grab the weapon instead? Because without the weapon, the guy who's carrying it is gonna have a way harder time doing crimes. Yes, Void got it. You gotta tell people about the crimes. If you grab the weapon, now they have a reduced ability to commit crimes. Better to make sure we're targeting a unique feature or aspect that's actually responsible for some of the harm. So that's our fourth criteria for good vaccine antigen. We should try to target something that is actually involved in the pathogenicity. The biggest benefit to this is that if you have antibodies attached to something that confers to the bacterial cell the ability to do harm, then you have neutralized the threat because the antibodies are blocking it from doing whatever it does, while also alerting the rest of the immune system to the bacteria's presence. And this is a really good principle to follow, as I just explained. This is very helpful in a lot of ways, but it severely limits the potential antigens that we could use in a vaccine. And this has in itself proven to be a major stumbling block for E. coli vaccines, because there's only so many things that are pathogen specific, surface exposed, consistent across clinical isolates, and involved in pathogenicity. We're okay in analogy land because we have our cool double action revolver with a brass trigger, but scientists in the real world are not so lucky. We're taking his other ball. Ideally, we would take his other ball, but yeah, we're fine. We're fine in analogy land. Actually, I think we did it. I think we designed a beautiful picture for the wanted poster. It features an item that's entirely unique to the members of the group. Only they have it. It's owned by every member of the group, and it's immediately visible, and it is critical to their ability to harm my town. And it's a perfect, hyper-realistic oil painting of their unique double-action revolver. And I painstakingly painted it in the finest quality paints that I could find for some reason. So, is this the final poll? I think this is the final poll. Is this a good wanted poster? Is it? It's another trick question. Oh, we have mixed results. Oh, you're on to me. So many perfectionist expectations. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Because yeah, this seems like the standards are too high, doesn't it? It seems like we're being persnickety. That was kind of my opinion when I got into vaccine design as a profession. Was like, oh my god, why are we why are we so demanding here? But it does make sense. And you're about to see one of the reasons why it makes sense. Okay, so yes, it is a good wanted poster. But if you answered no, that was also right, because it's not very easily reproducible. My town is in the Wild West. I don't have access to a colored copier. So if I want to make more than one of these, which I do, I'm gonna have to paint every single one by hand. And this is the final criteria for a good vaccine antigen. It was a little tricky to shoehorn into my analogy, but I did try. A good vaccine antigen needs to be possible to produce economically at scale. So if I pick an antigen that is otherwise perfect, but it is so difficult to make that it ends up costing like $10,000 per dose, that's not a very good vaccine, because nobody has $10,000. That's an impossible amount of money for any one person to have. And there is history of this specifically being a problem for E. coli vaccine development. We've had a lot of potential vaccines designed around the O antigen, as I mentioned. And the researcher is designing this one vaccine that I'm thinking of. It's called XPEC-9V, and that's the 9 valent 9 strains that it protects against. They basically said, like, okay, there's a lot of variability between the O antigens, like between different strains, but like, whatever, let's just put all the different ones that we can find together and give that as a vaccine, which should technically work, but there are a lot of problems with the production, because first of all, you have to make all the different types of the O antigen, and then you actually have to detoxify them, because the O antigen is so good at activating the human immune system that it by itself can make you extremely sick in relatively small amounts. So you want immune activation with a vaccine, but you don't want to risk seriously harming the person that you're immunizing in the process, right? So they had to chemically nerf the O antigens a little bit, and then once the O antigens were nerfed, they actually didn't produce that much of an immune response anymore. So then they had to be chemically attached to a different molecule that kind of served as an adjuvant. And all those extra steps is, you know, it's unfortunately, it's really complicated. And if something is complicated, it's costly. So the vaccine would need to be really good, really, really good to justify production and commercialization. And actually, when I started putting this PowerPoint together, that this vaccine, XPEC-9V, was still in clinical trials. And it was in phase 3, which is the final step before it can be commercialized. And on this slide, on this very slide, I had a little prediction, and it said, I have a semi-professional, somewhat educated opinion on this subject, and I do not expect that this vaccine will be extremely good enough. Because I suspect that the O antigen is a suboptimal vaccine target just on its face. As of right now, that trial is canceled because the vaccine was found to be no more effective than a placebo. So even if it had been pretty good, like that wouldn't have been good enough because of the production problems, but it wasn't even pretty good. It was no more effective than placebo. I would love to go into more depth about why I suspect it didn't work. We don't have official word yet. It was too recent. They haven't done follow-up studies to see why it didn't work, but I have theories. To summarize, I'm going to go off script. To summarize my theories briefly, we often, sometimes we talk about antibodies like they're a class of molecules that are all pretty much the same. You know, it's an antibody, but that is not true. There are many different types of antibodies. They have various different structures. They do slightly different things depending on those structures. And importantly, they are distributed throughout the body in like different ways, depending on what type of antibody they are. So that is an issue for extraintestinal pathogenic E. coli, because by definition, it is extraintestinal. It's not only in one area, it's outside of the intestines. Primarily, you would find it in the bladder or the urinary tract, or, you know, sepsis, which is all throughout the body. Big systemic infection, or meningitis, which is, you know, infection of the cerebrospinal fluid. Sorry, I was distracted. But so there's different antibodies in those different locations throughout the body, and I have theories about how the O antigen produces antibodies and which ones it produces and where they are produced. And I think that is a big reason why the O antigen based vaccines are kind of doomed to fail. Luckily, we have some other potential vaccine candidates that are on the table that are not O antigen based. So, for example, there's one called EDVAX, which is not extra intestinal pathogenic E. coli, but is actually specifically for traveler's diarrhea. So that's in your intestines. But it is E. coli and nonetheless very needed. I think lessons learned from EDVAX could help us with developing immunization from other types of E. coli. Oh, and EDVAX is really cool because it's an oral vaccine. So you just eat it. No shot required. You just eat that thing. Last I checked, it was still in phase 2, but it was looking pretty good. So that's cool. I also found a couple cool papers about vaccines that are based around SINH, I don't know how you say that exactly, SINH and FIMH, which are they're pathogen specific proteins. FIMH is an attachment protein, so it allows the E. coli to attach to your intestinal cells, and SINH is a transporter. They are pathogen specific. They're only found on the pathogenic strains of E. coli, and they're not the O antigen. SINH has been tried in mice. That vaccine has been trialed in mice. It looked pretty good. And FIMH has been trialed in humans at phase 2, I think. And it also looked pretty good. They're both still in development, but they look neat. I don't remember where I was going with this. Like, I didn't rehearse this. I forgot what I was supposed to do at the end of this slide. Whatever, let's return to our question. Why don't we have a vaccine against E. coli? We have all our criteria. We've gone over how those criteria are challenges for E. coli specifically. So I think as a final step, we can draft a formal answer to the question. So imagine that you're somewhere, like at one of those cool barbecue parties that humans are always going to. And imagine that someone standing next to you has passed up a burger and got a hot dog instead. And they're like, oh man, there's another E. coli outbreak. Why don't they just make a vaccine for that thing so we don't have to worry about it so much? I want you to be able to raise your little index finger and put on your little Coke bottle glasses and stick out your little central incisors and say, well, actually, first of all, bro, we have been trying to make one for like 50 years, but there are reasons why E. coli has been uniquely difficult to design a vaccine against. E. coli broadly is not bad. He's not a bad guy. He just has some bad moments. There's a lot of E. coli strains that are just, they're just normal. They're part of the normal human gut flora. They're part of the normal, like, ruminant gut flora. We have to make sure that we can find an antigen that doesn't harm them or cause massive inflammation. You don't want people to just walk around with their immune systems attacking their guts at all times. That would be terrible. That has been a pretty major issue. Also, there's a lot of variation between the pathogenic E. coli strains. We've really been struggling to find something that's common enough between them to use as a vaccine antigen that still provides protection. So this broad coverage that we need to justify the production of a vaccine has been very difficult to find. We're getting there. Thank you to gene sequencing and all the researchers working on that. And then fourth, you know, this final picky being persnickety stumbling block, a really good vaccine would target something that allows the E. coli to harm the host, which that's a tough bar to clear. It's really hard. There's not a lot of options there. Finding a suitable antigen for this it's been really hard. We have candidates. We're working on it, bro. We are trying, but this has been part of the challenge here. So that's it. Yay! You did it! You passed the analogy. The ideal vaccine antigen would look like a gun. Yes, that's the main problem. There's not enough gun-shaped molecules on the E. coli. I'm sad to say. That's it. Oh, I thought it was gonna be longer. Damn. You have to disassemble his gun to show everyone his gun. Yeah. I could have added like 80,000 more slides. Here's my sources. Here's my further reading. But I wanted to try and keep it accessible, right? I wanted to make this accessible. I don't want to overload with information. Now I wish I had overloaded with information. Oh yeah, I couldn't actually put a formal source for some of this stuff because it was literally just like, this is what I know, which is not good. You shouldn't do that. You should find a source that backs up what you already know so that you can verify that you know something correct. You know what? I'm looking at these references, and these are like really dense. these are all like PubMed articles. I don't know how accessible these are gonna be, but we could read one together at some point. And you could learn about antigens. I would love to talk about, I don't know what to talk about next. I want to do another one, but I don't know what it should be on. Maybe the different types of antibodies, because I mean, okay, I have some knowledge of immunology. I would say my immunology knowledge is above average. If you took the average human and measured their immunology knowledge against mine, I would have more than them, but I only know about as much as required. About as much as you would think is required for vaccine design, which is not... I'm not an expert. I would love to learn more about antibodies and then present my findings to the class. Congealed mass of hundreds of articles read over the course of school. Yes, my school and industry. I don't know. What? Oh, animated. Did it delete one of your messages? I see, so like, and then nothing, and then, but like responsibly in a way. I don't see it in my stream chat either. Damn, I feel like Shinri. I thought that would be longer. I was so excited. I probably went too fast because I was excited. I don't know what's interesting that I could do another tangentially related PowerPoint about. Oh, racist. Oh, being racist against the pathogenic strains of E. coli. Yes. Yeah. Yes. That's the goal. That's the ultimate goal of a good vaccine, is to be racist against the bad ones. Oh no, that sounds bad. I suppose the less pathogen specific it is, the more raciest it is. Yeah, it depends on which way you look at it from, right? You have to discriminate. You have to engage in discrimination. Just stop it. I know. I didn't mean to say it that way. Oh my god. No, okay. Pathogenic. The pathogenic ones. You do need to discriminate. A lot of people with arachnophobia who think bug genocide is an acceptable solution, but they're wrong because it kills everyone. Yes. Yeah. Oh, another thing, I don't think I wrote this down anywhere. One of the reasons why I feel this is a really important thing to get, if we can, some kind of E. coli vaccine is because we are seeing a surge of antibiotic resistant E. coli right now, and have been for a while. And that's one of our main, pretty much only ways of treating, especially in a sepsis or meningitis context. There's really not a lot we can do other than hopefully be able to administer antibiotics. So if we have antibiotic resistant strains of E. coli, that could be really bad. You guys know E. coli, the strain 0157H7, probably the most famous strain of E. coli. That one, I think about that one a lot because it got a lot of media attention. And it doesn't actually even cause as many illnesses as something like Salmonella or Campylobacter. There's other bacteria. Yeah, 0157H7, that's him. There's other bacteria that are not even E. coli that cause way more illnesses than he ever did. But when that one is bad, it is so bad. It is so bad. For a lot of people, even that, particularly notoriously virulent strain is actually fine. They get diarrhea and it's not fun, but it's okay. They recover. But man, for the people who don't, it's devastating. It is devastating. And if we lose the ability to treat that with antibiotics, it's kind of screwed. I don't know what we're gonna do, because it's gonna be fine for a lot of people. For the people that it's not fine for, it's gonna be really not fine. And we have seen in relatively recent history how that goes, right? If something is like okay for a lot of people, but it's super not okay for a minority, that it doesn't go great, right? We saw. we know what happens, and it's bad. So I've been thinking a lot about this for that reason. Exactly. Yeah, the pandemic is just a man who is really bad for specific groups and appears to be, I'm saying appears to be because it's probably not, relatively okay for a lot of people. They don't get hospitalized. They might have really bad symptoms for a long time. They might be impaired in lesser ways that affect their quality of life, but not to such an extreme degree that they need to be, on a ventilator or something. But because, the majority don't need this dramatic medical intervention, then they're just going to be like, well, sorry, I don't know. Too bad. We've seen this. This happens. This is how this works. Yeah, it's also evil to anyone who keeps getting it. That's well, we don't know if that's different for E. coli. I mean, well, we kind of do. I'm thinking about the extra-intestinal pathogenic E. coli that is commonly associated with UTIs. which again, that's another thing. That's just one of those things where a lot of people get UTIs and it's whatever. It's annoying. Maybe it goes away on its own. Maybe you have to go to the doctor for antibiotics, but like, it's fine. And for other people, you know, they have such a different experience. It's devastating. They get kidney infections. It never goes away. For a long time, we had some misunderstandings about how UTIs actually work. We did not understand that E. coli can actually hide out in your body. E. coli can hide like in your cells and wait. You don't need to continuously reinfect yourself to have chronic UTIs. You can just be very unlucky and have cells that E. coli finds it easy to hide out in. It camps out there and it waits. It waits. You can be on antibiotics and it'll be like, I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm gonna hide out in this epithelial cell. I'm gonna hide out in this bladder epithelial cell. And then it goes in there and it hangs out and it waits. And then it comes back and you're like, oh, no, I did it again. And you know, you probably didn't. You probably didn't. It was probably not your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. It was, you got unlucky. The myth of herd immunity? I'm unfamiliar. Hold on. Wait, what do we mean? Let me get clear on what we're talking about. I mean, I know herd immunity. Oh, is this referring to like is this referring to how herd immunity is not all it's cracked up to be? You know what I mean? Is this referring to that? Where it's like herd immunity becomes kind of an excuse to like give up because we have herd immunity, so whatever. Oh man, or like the people who refuse to vaccinate kids because, oh, okay, that's okay. I got rid of my PowerPoint. Whoops. Because herd immunity will protect them. Right, it's like they think it's this simple statistical math problem, but the math for achieving herd immunity, like, it doesn't work for every pathogen, right? If it's novel, if it's new, if it's something that we know, but it recently mutated in a different way, it might not behave how models predict. So the threshold for what counts as herd immunity could change over time. Is that what I was referring to? I don't I don't know. Like, there's a lot of assumptions you have to make when you're declaring herd immunity, put it that way. Like, you're declaring bankruptcy, you're declaring herd immunity, or if you're attempting to achieve herd immunity, you have to do a lot of assuming, and that's dangerous. Always. It's dangerous to make assumptions when the assumptions you're making are about public health and human behavior and living organisms. Nothing is static. Everything changes all the time. Just because you have what could be considered herd immunity by some definitions right now doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. Herd immunity is also necessarily dependent on general prosperity. Exactly, yeah. Societal conditions can change. The material conditions of people's lives can change in a way that pretty much invalidates something that could have previously been regarded as herd immunity. Like, imagine in a disaster situation, like, okay, imagine if like a Hurricane Katrina happens and it wipes out wastewater treatment. We functionally have herd immunity right now against polio, right? But if something like that happened and wasn't fixed quickly, and we lost broad wastewater treatment, no more herd immunity against polio. All it takes is one person, right? And it could come roaring back. People assuming that we just all need to be vaccinated. Well, yeah, when like 13 to 18% of people are actually fully vaccinated against COVID now. Yeah, and there's limitations to what vaccines can do. They don't work for everybody. Not everybody can be vaccinated. There's people who legitimately cannot be vaccinated. People have mixed responses. Even the best vaccines, even my perfect dream... Sorry, someone's digging. Even my perfect dream E. coli vaccine is not going to elicit my perfect dream immune response in everybody. Everybody is different, and people react differently and have different immune systems. Yeah, and also people don't understand what fully vaccinated means. People don't understand. You have to be continuously vaccinated for some things, right? Your immunity can wane. Even, you know, a really good vaccine, tetanus vaccine, very effective, really good vaccine. But you have to get it, you know, every 10 years or whatever, 8 to 10 years, you need to get a new one because your body could forget. Hopefully you're not being exposed to tetanus toxin enough to not need a little booster, but it's just, I don't know if it's not an invalid concept, herd immunity, but it's not something we should really lean on. And especially not for a novel pathogen. Okay, I'm actually looking at the article now. Sorry. I googled and then I just started like ranting. Yeah, I mean the base mechanism behind herd immunity is blocking the transmission routes that sustain a pathogen in the host population. Sure. Yep. That makes sense. It's a slippery concept. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, people are even arguing about what herd immunity is, which I think is a valid thing to discuss. Because, like, what counts as herd immunity? Man. So we've had the flu shot for so long, and people still don't get it. We've had it for so long. No, I'm becoming pessimistic about E. coli vaccine. Okay, close tab. No. My E. coli vaccine. My theoretical E. coli vaccine. Ooh, FYI, anyone who has been dodging your tetanus booster, incubation period ranges from 3 days to a few weeks. Do not continue to hesitate if you meet the pointy end of any very porous materials. Yeah. Don't screw around with rusty nails. Don't screw around with pointy objects that have visible or suspected oxidation happening. Get get it to be safe. 3 days is insanely short. This is like, it's like food poisoning, right? And this happens at, oh, topical, this happens with E. coli. People, part of the problem with, you know, tracing an E. coli breakout is people are so bad at remembering what happened 3 meals ago. Forget about 3 days ago. 3 meals ago. People are terrible. And they all often like falsely attribute any food poisoning type symptom they have to, you know, whatever they ate last or whatever they ate maybe 12 hours ago, which is accurate for certain types of food poisoning, but there are certain foodborne pathogens that don't produce symptoms anywhere near that immediately. They take days. Listeria, right? Listeria and monocytogenes, that can take weeks. That can take weeks to manifest. Like, good luck. Good luck remembering what you ate 3 weeks ago. But, I mean, okay, listeria is often associated with food production lines, right? We've seen it in peanut butter. This is a mass-produced food. We've seen it in ice cream, mass-produced food. So that makes it easier if you're an epidemiologist and you're tracing a listeria outbreak. That makes it easier a lot of the time. You can trace back a mass-produced or pre-prepared, commercially prepared food, right? Cut melons, we've seen that. Have we seen it on lettuce? Yeah, we've seen it on lettuce. You can trace it back that way. But if it's a small outbreak and you don't have a lot of data points, oh my god. Good luck getting people to remember what they had for lunch 3 weeks ago. I don't remember. If you ask me, I got no, well, actually, I eat the same thing all the time, so maybe I do remember. But 3 weeks from now, I'm not going to remember that I ate a pre-prepared, like deli-made okonomiyaki for lunch today. I'm not going to remember that. Well, now I'll remember it because I said it. And I was streaming on YouTube when I said it. But if I hadn't been, I wouldn't remember. I don't know. Oh, the eye drop incident that made me afraid of eye drops forever. Was it a listeria? It could have been a listeria. It could have been salmonella. That's a weird one. That's a really weird one. Salmonella and eye drops. I'm trying to decide which of those is more likely. Yeah, it was probably listeria. That's a gnarly thing to end up in your eye. Anyway, what should I do next? I want to do another one. It was fun. I had fun. Oh, you got a progress update on your microbe prayers? I forgot to dim my lights. Oh, I'm gonna dim my lights. Here we go. I forgot. Enjoy the dimmed lights. I'll let you look at this as it was meant to be seen, but I was so excited. I forgot. There's a lot of slides. Yeah, look at those guys. Oh, change the OCD rules. That is the ultimate OCD hack. Change the rules. I employed that hack myself. Oh, less disruptive can occasionally be more destructive in the long term. Yeah, I think if you're careful, right? Like when I was focused on, how would I describe it? Like shortening the ritual or abbreviating the ritual. You know, cut little pieces of it off, change the rules, make it shorter, less involved. And then eventually I was able to get rid of it entirely. Oh, summarize the prayer into one word. Right, and then one day you'll be able to get rid of that one word. Yeah, you're describing what I did, basically. I think it sounds like. I think this sounds like good progress. It took eons for me to get here for some reason. Aw. Progress is progress. It's okay. Sometimes we need progress to happen fast, but yeah, sometimes it really, I mean, God only knows how long it took me to stop scrubbing all the skin off my hands. Okay, lights back on. Lights all the way on. Here we go. Oh, it's bright. It's bright in here. It's one of the rules that makes the least sense. I've gotten over ones that make more sense faster. It's just, there's no rhyme or reason to OCD. OCD is not rational. Oh, you have a question? Yeah, it's really bright. For the migraine sensitive in the audience. Question. I don't know if I have an answer. I'm gonna think about it. Oh, an elf lion question. 167 centimeters is an average human height. Elves and lions are both pretty tall. Are elf lions different in that way? Are elf lions usually tiny? Elves are super short. Where I'm from, anyway. Elves don't typically grow any taller than 121 centimeters, which is about 4 feet for you imperial heads. Oh, and lions are super tall. Incredibly tall. 8-9 feet. Somewhere in there. I would think of elves as like kind of hobbit size. Not hobbit proportions, but hobbit size. I assume I got the tall from the lion. Half of my chimerism. But who knows, maybe if I had just been a straight up elf, I would have been just as tall. For some reason. There's no way to know unless you can unchimera me. And if you can, don't do it. I like my ears right where they are. Do not take them away. Look at him. The Keebler or Klaus population. Yes, it explains the baking. Exactly. Baping? Baping? This explains the baking. Yes, my population of elves is kind of... I mean, if you made a Venn diagram that contained Keebler, Claws, and Tolkien elves, my population of elves would fall like right in the middle of all of those. That's why elves love making things. That's the Santa part. That's the North Pole coming through when we make stuff. And the baking is the Keebler. And the short is both the Keebler and the North Pole. And the Tolkien, well, where's the Tolkien come in? I may need to reevaluate my assessment of my population. That's crafty mode. I think the Tolkien comes in with the general preference for habitat. But it's still not, it's not totally accurate. Long hair, well, not all elves have I have long hair. Okay, actually, yeah, I guess long hair is pretty popular amongst the elves. That's true. No, Ty's right. I'm trying to make me feel better. I'm trying to make myself not be a Tolkien elf, but no, that's a part of it. Long hair is very important in my culture. Yeah. Yeah, the habitat preference, that's definitely a Tolkien. The Tolkien part comes across when you cross between the real and the unreal to talk at great length about your arcane knowings. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Definitely. That is very Tolkien elf. Although one thing that's missing from Tolkien elves is the love of large bodies of water. He totally missed that somehow. Unless Keebler elves love large bodies of water and I was just not aware of that in their lore. That's possible. I've not done extensive research into Keebler elves, but perhaps I should. Maybe I'll do that. I'll do that next. We don't do any of the war, none of the war stuff. Tolkien elves do a lot of war stuff. We don't do any of that. I don't think I've ever seen an elf wield a weapon. Those elves kept crossing the magic water to go back to elf world for no reason. They would go talk at extreme lengths, but nothing ever actually got done in elf world. Yeah, that's inaccurate for my elves. They just like glowing, right? Also inaccurate for my elves. My elves get a lot done. Get tons. We're very busy. Very busy. Very busy people. They are also, Tolkien elves are also like, they're way too elegant. They're so put together. That's not how my elves are. Like they're always so smooth and frizz-free, and they have sophisticated architecture, and that's not, no, inaccurate. No, they did do gifting. Yeah, they were really into gifting. Oh, yeah, Keebler, North Pole, and Tolkien. And my elf sub-serotype, all very into gifting. This is a shared trait. We could make a vaccine on that. If you want to be vaccinated against elves, you use gifting as the antigen. Well, actually, because the little elves, my little four-legged daughters, they don't do a whole lot of gifting. Unless you count kisses. They love giving kisses. Is that a gift? I'm gonna count that as a gift. Never mind. Hypothesis not refuted. Okay. Considered an elf vaccine. The good ones are vital to the ecosystem. Well, thank you. Wait. I might not be included in that. That could just be about guineas. Wait a minute. I think guineas is pretty vital to the ecosystem. She's vital to my ecosystem. Yes, it's you. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for not vaccinating yourself against me. Thank you guys for coming to my classroom. Oh no! Don't bite me. I haven't got my void vaccine. Okay. I made it to an hour and 30 minutes. Okay, hour and 26 according to YouTube. Thank you for coming to my classroom. I appreciate your attendance and your participation. Guineas is upset. She doesn't want me to stop. But I'm going to stop now because I have to go to bed. You understand E. coli lack of vaccine, do you? Oh, I'm so happy. I hope so. I would love to go more in depth with some of this stuff and use less analogies. Next time, we'll see. Yeah, fun school. Thank you. I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Yeah. I'm glad you had fun saying whatever being a school child. I'll see you guys next time. Happy Thursday tomorrow. Yay! Thursday. Bye-bye. Bye for now. More micro info dumping is coming your way. Bye-bye. I'll work on it. See ya.